That Bay Area. What's up, Richmond, CA? There's some real stuff right here.
Add on coming down here.
It's Aji, man.
Once upon a time.
Add on.
I knew how to rhyme.
Keep your at home. Me on. Or me want to own. Me on type of flow.
That's all I got to say.
Me on.
All right.
Or me want to own. Me on type of flow.
Welcome back to another episode of the Add On Podcast. Got a special guest, Jake Murray.
What's up?
How you feel to be on, man?
It's interesting. I've never done something like this before.
Yes, sir, man. First time. So first, start off, obviously, talk about your upbringing, man. How it was for you growing up, stuff like that.
I grew up in a small town in Colorado, and it was a pretty good upbringing. I don't know, it was small, so I had the same group of friends pretty much all growing up through high school. I'm still in contact with half dozen of them or so. But it was fun. It was, pre-technology, so we just were try to stay busy, go to the park, just do whatever we could find ourselves getting into it in a small town.
Yes,
going to get fast food was like a treat because there wasn't anything in my town. But no, it was good. Not a lot of drama, just simple.
Yes, sir, man.
Very simple.
So obviously, he's my former middle school basketball coach. Talk about when did you first start playing basketball?
When I played basketball my whole life, I was never very good. I never really committed myself to the game necessarily. But I played, pretty much all the sports my whole life. I was okay at all of them. I was never a standout. And then I got cut as a senior in high school, and that's kind of what motivated me to go into coaching because at the time I felt like it was wrong. I was at everything. I didn't miss summer camps, workouts, open gym, summer, winter, it didn't matter.
Right.
But if it wasn't organized, I wasn't going to go work on my game. Now as a coach, after 19 years, I realized that he made the right decision cutting me, but at the time it felt bad, and it's what motivated me to be a coach. He kept me on, and I got to be a part of the team. I got to travel. I was like the videographer, and then he had me break down film a little bit, and so that really kind of like spurred on that idea that, I can coach too, because I decided as a freshman in high school with the same guy that cut me, I just watched him walking around campus, and he was the coach, and he taught PE, and I just thought, wow, all right, I could do that. Some way to be around sports that wasn't a pro athlete, because everybody has that idea.
Right.
I learned pretty early on that probably wasn't going to be me, but we all have that idea, and then, yeah. So I've been doing what I wanted to do since I was 14 years old.
Yes, sir, man. That's what's up. Who were some of the players you studied growing up?
I didn't really study players necessarily, but of course I watched MJ. Who couldn't?
Of course.
I was a Bulls fan. You root for the team that your favorite player's on. Mm-hmm. I did go to a couple of Nuggets games growing up, but they weren't very good. At least I don't remember. But I didn't really study. I just kind of watched whatever was on. It wasn't like now where you have all these choices. It was, we had, anywhere between 13 and maybe 30 channels, and so whatever game was on, I just had it on. And I became a Michigan fan because I watched the Fab Five. So Chris Webber, Jalen Rose, he was kind of my favorite player.
Yeah.
But I didn't really study players. I just, maybe if I had, I would have learned some stuff. But I don't know. I've always had a little trouble with my attention, I guess. So the idea of like going and putting work in at the park was never something I just never was interested in it. I couldn't see myself studying film of someone trying to do that. It just wasn't. It wasn't really what I was about. Even as a coach, I didn't like watching game film. I just don't have the capacity and attention span for that. I don't know why, but I just don't.
That's interesting, man, for sure.
Yeah.
Any players today in the league that you kind of like?
I hate to say this. I'm not a huge fan of the NBA, just because they make rules to make it more entertaining, and it takes away from what I enjoy about basketball, like the youth and high school, college levels, which is more of a team kind of thing.
Right.
Rules
NBA's all like kind of one-on-one stuff.
Yeah, illegal defense. Like, what does that even mean? Like, I don't understand that.
Yeah.
But I enjoy. One thing I always kind of did well was shoot the ball. So guys that shoot the ball pretty well. It's fun to watch. The Warriors. With Poole, Curry, and Thompson.
Yeah.
But I don't really have any specific players I like to watch, per se. But if an NBA game's on, I'll watch it. for a little bit and pick up on stuff. But even though they do play defense, it's just different than what you see at like the youth level, because there's so much isolation, and it's just different, you know. I mean, Curry changed the game for the better in some ways, but
Definitely.
it's, you know, it also makes it so there's not a lot of movement and stuff with a lot of the teams. It's watching ISO basketball I don't enjoy that a whole lot. I would rather watch, you know, team basketball.
Exactly, for sure, man. When did you first become a coach?
I never coached as a kid. I first coached when I got hired at Schofield. And I got a phone call. I didn't get hired at the beginning of the year, so I was working at a travel agency up on like Rancho and Craig. And they basically said, because I'd applied as a teacher, I just didn't get hired right away, because at that point, a lot of people wanted to be teachers. And PE teachers were kind of a dime a dozen. But they'd said, you know, if you take this, you have to coach. It's what I wanted anyway. So it all kind of just worked out, and that was in 2003. I got hired November 3rd.
Yeah, I was born.
Yeah, there you go. See, right? Yeah.
crazy.
So and I've been at the same school my entire career, and until this year, coached. Yeah,
we're gonna get into that, man. So after it was 19 seasons, right?
Yeah, 19. I mean,
seasons.
and I don't know if you count 2020 because they canceled it, but yeah.
What was the most challenging thing, like in those 19 years as a coach for you?
The challenges kind of changed as basketball gained in popularity and kids started focusing on it more. So, you know, at the beginning of my career, the biggest challenge was just trying to figure out what the heck to do. I didn't know I needed a press breaker my first season until all of a sudden we saw a couple of them, and then I'm like, oh, I better do this. So the beginning challenges were just learning the game from a different perspective. Managing personalities was always difficult. Any season, you're going to have kids that don't get along with each other. They don't want to do certain things. And then as time went on, the challenges grew to be more, how do we take this kind of AAU club mentality, and it's not all AAU teams, of course, but this idea that I'm going to go get mine, and it's not necessarily based on team, and try to get kids to buy into a system, because that's the only way you can win. You know, dealing with parents was always a little tricky here and there. You know, some have more knowledge than me, most had less, and so that was always a challenge.
And that was early on, like.
I mean, honestly, early on it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. I don't think the expectations were too high, but I think, you know, parents that they put their kids in, you know, club programs and they pay for training, they expect results, and when they don't see that right away, red flags go up in their head. Even though, you know, a season's a process, you know, it's not always going to be what you want it to be right away, and not everybody's willing to kind of deal with the growing pains of that. And so that became challenging more in the last probably 5 or 6 years than it was earlier, because again, you pay money for something, you expect something in return for it. And even though I might have seen good things going on, they probably didn't see that. You know, I'm focusing on, okay, I've got 18 kids on the team, they're looking at one. So it was always challenging trying to have those conversations, and try to see their viewpoint as well too, because I don't have my own children, I'm not going to have children, which is a conscious decision. So that's kind of tricky, you know, because I don't really know what that's like, you know, to have a child and be focused solely on what's good for them. So.
Yes, sir, man. Talk about the relationship you built with the players. It's like, I'm gonna tell y'all a little story, like, because during that time I was like really kind of like struggling financially, and like he lived in, I believe, Southern Highlands at the time.
I did, yeah.
And he would drive all the way Las Vegas Boulevard just to pick me up to go to practice. And it's times I couldn't afford certain stuff, he'd help me out. So talk about the relationship you built, you know, with the players, like beyond just on the court.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Well, and thank you. I mean, you were deserving of it, you know. Kids deserve to have stuff that you can't make it for yourself at that age, you know.
Right.
That was always the biggest thing for me, because, you know, like I said earlier, I feel like, you know, in hindsight, my high school coach did the right thing from a basketball standpoint, but he never really bothered to build relationships with most of his players, and me included. And that's one of the things that kind of motivated me to try to look at the whole kid as much as I could, to just try to build relationships, be present in their lives. I believe that we do have kind of an epidemic of just people are struggling. Parenting is a struggle, social media, and so just being that stable figure that kids know is going to be there when they leave. You know, I've been at the same school since 2003. And I always just enjoyed that because I didn't have kids of my own, and I kind of always knew I didn't want kids. And so for me, that was my way to kind of have like children, you know, in a different way.
Exactly.
And that was, I mean, I always told kids, like, I don't, you know, everybody likes winning, but I always told kids, and I'm sure I said this to you guys, I would rather I want you to have a good experience here, because ultimately no one remembers who won how many games in their middle school season. I mean, you know, championships is a little different, but still, you know, middle school is a training ground. It's where you hopefully develop love for the game, build skills. And so I tried to focus on just making sure it was a good experience, you know, whether that was having nice gear, you know, doing fun stuff outside of practice. I do that. I tried to do it this summer. I couldn't make it work. The reunion that I would put together in the summer, just stuff like that, so that kids had, you know, that fallback. You know, if something was going on, they knew they could reach out to me. And you know, some do, some don't, and but I'm still here. You know,
Exactly.
And that's why, like, I have the Schofield basketball Instagram. And the coaches that are taking over, Coach Dodd was my assistant. He's been my assistant for like 12 years. I'm going to run it for him this year, but I told him, like, you know, if you ever want me not to, I need to keep that account, because that's my connection with so many former players. You know, phone numbers change, but, you know, they always know where to find me, and that's important to me.
Yeah,
So
for sure, man. Let's transition back into the NBA.
Okay.
Who's your early pick to win the NBA Finals, man?
I don't know. I mean, it always depends on health, right?
Yeah.
Certainly not the Lakers. Sorry, man. I'm sorry.
I'm not even a Laker fan. I'm just
They don't have anybody that can shoot the ball. My goodness. I don't know. Probably the Warriors again, unless this whole Draymond situation blows up even worse.
Oh,
know?
yeah. I was going to ask you
Oh,
about
yeah.
the video.
Yeah,
That was a cheap shot by Draymond.
It was. I'm a Michigan fan, so I liked watching Jordan Poole in college. But the thing is, who knows what the backstory is? I mean, it's easy to judge when you see a 10-second clip and it looks real bad. But that's kind of what he does. I don't know if anybody expects him not to do that.
Yeah, that's what he's known for, yeah.
He's a thorn in the side, and there are people that'll say you need a player like that. You know, I don't. Maybe at the NBA, I don't know if you need that at other levels, but you do need someone who's going to get into you and, you know, challenge you and stuff. But I would say the Warriors, just because they play the game, in my mind, more or less the right way. You know, not necessarily taking 3 every second, but just moving the ball. The ball doesn't stick. You know, I don't know, just when basketball is just standing around, it's super boring, which is, you know, why when I coached, we would always see so many zone defenses, and it's just not any fun. There's only so much you can really do. I mean, even if you create movement. So, yeah, I think I would probably say the Warriors again.
Okay, for sure.
Yeah.
What makes Jordan better than LeBron? Like, I assume you think he's the GOAT, right?
Yeah, I do. I mean, the thing is, it's so subjective because different eras, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, Jordan, he really made the NBA, and as far as popularity, he made it from what it was to what it is today. He was the catalyst for that. You know, it was because he was just exciting to watch. He was doing stuff that we hadn't really seen before. Yeah, he had the shoes, he had the attitude. You know, he had those little mannerisms that people could pick up on, the gum chewing, the tongue sticking out. And so, you know, without Jordan, there is no NBA as we know it right now. And maybe LeBron does that if Jordan never comes about. But at the same time, you have to give credit to someone who, you know, who created this product that we see now. You know, it started with, I feel like it started with him. You know, I mean, I know the NBA existed for a long time. So, and I don't dislike LeBron, you know, at all. But yeah, I just think Jordan, what he did for the history of the game makes a big impact. You know, and then what you will say,
went a different route.
What's that?
You didn't mention 6 ring. You going like impact range.
Yeah, I don't think that stuff matters because there's so many factors that go into winning. But yeah, I mean, I don't know that matters. You know, he had a huge impact. You know, and then I sometimes look at things from, like, I like LeBron James as a human being way more than Michael Jordan. I respect the fact that he's with his high school sweetheart. They have a family. You've never heard LeBron involved in a scandal because he's just a good dude. You know, he's raising his kids the right way, does the right things, says the right things for the most part, and you have to respect that. You know, so I don't know that we need. I don't know what the obsession with ranking people is necessarily, but yeah, the rings
I
are.
was talking to my dad. It seems like Jordan is like. Seems like he's more like angry now. He has all that money, but he seems angry in interviews. Just smoking and just I don't know.
No, he doesn't seem like a happy guy.
Yeah.
You know, at all. He seems annoyed. He seems like the kind of guy that he just wanted to play basketball, and at the time he got into the league, you didn't know getting into it. Like now, you know, if you're going to make the league, you're going to be famous. Yeah. People are going to know who you are. You have to kind of assume, like, you know, this attention is part of the job.
Right.
He never got in. That wasn't the case back then. So I'm sure for him, all this change, I'm sure it's annoying. I would hate it if everywhere I went, everybody, you know, knew who I was. I couldn't just live a normal life. Mm-hmm. So I get it on some level,
Comes
but
with the territory, yeah.
Yeah, but he didn't know that. You know, that wasn't the case when he started. That was not. I mean, you know, those of you young folks that, you know, I'm an old dude, 43. I didn't have a cell phone until I graduated high school, and I didn't have a smartphone until 2008, 2009. You know, so yeah, none of that was a thing. He just, you know, it's a weird deal. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, what's the biggest problem in society today?
Biggest problem in society? There's so many.
So much stuff going on in the world.
Yeah.
Mass shootings, school shootings.
Yeah.
Abortion stuff going on.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to pick up on one thing, but you know, coming from my perspective as a teacher, I think that we have a real disconnect with kids being raised the right way. You know, with morals and values, the way kids talk to other kids, the way they talk to adults. The way that they just interact in public, I see we have, I hate to say it, you know, I think we have a bad parenting epidemic to a point.
Wow. Because,
you know, when I started teaching, the focus was on education, you know, teaching kids stuff, and that was my focus throughout the day. And, you know, in my 20th year now, I spend the most of my time dealing with behaviors, redirecting kids, trying to, you know, talk to them about the right way to handle situations, and there's no retention. You know, so there's just a lot of behaviors, but, you know, politics is tricky. You know, everything's polarized. And the biggest thing I see with kids today is everybody's offended by literally everything. Mm-hmm. And it's not as simple, like, I didn't like that. Everything turns into a blow up. Yeah. And I don't quite understand that. I mean, so there's just so much stuff to get in. That'd be, you could talk for hours on that, you know.
Yeah, kids don't go outside no more, man. It's all social media.
They don't.
It's all,
yeah.
I miss the old days.
I know, me too. I mean, when I first started, we could play flag football literally all year, and the boys would all play. They'd enjoy themselves. They probably wouldn't bicker too much. And now I've got kids who they want to get removed from activities so they can walk around and dig out their cell phone that they hid in their underwear and look at that while they're walking the field, you know, watching Naruto or something like that. And that's all these kids want to do. They're, you know, PE used to be an escape, you know, but now we have, you know, and I think technology's one of the greatest things society's ever invented, but it's also one of the worst. Mm-hmm. You know, every kid has a Chromebook. You know, if you don't we have a program that lets you limit certain things. Uh-huh. Even when you do that, kids are just trying to find a workaround. They just want to sit, play computer games all day, play on their phone. Mm. And I get it, cell phones are addicting, but it's challenging. Technology has changed, and the pandemic, I think, really changed a lot of people's behaviors.
I agree, for sure.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Let's transition to rap, man. Touch on just all these young rappers dying. Like, so many young rappers dying, from PNB Rock to, that was the latest one, but just kind of touch on that, all these rappers dying young.
Well, first of all, I don't know who any of these people are, but...
but even just, you could start from, even Pac died at 25, like, just you didn't start at that
That's
year,
true,
all the way
yeah.
up to now, it's just so many.
Yeah, I think
because I don't know him either, man.
Right?
I listen to lyricists.
I think the lifestyle that's portrayed, I just think it's, I don't know, like, to me, a lot of rap seems overwhelmingly negative. Mm-hmm. The things that are talked about and rapped or sung about or whatever, a lot of it just revolves around violence. And I don't know, maybe if you're around that to a point, it just kind of becomes a part of your, you know, but I also don't agree that video games cause mass shootings necessarily, you know. I don't know that. So it's the same kind of correlation, but it just seems like a lot of negativity and anger. You know, we're in a stage now where everybody can have success. Mm-hmm. You know, you can produce your own stuff. You can get it out there for a heck of a lot less than you used to be able to. You don't even need a record label to get, found and known. And so then I don't know if they're competing for the same like pot of money, group of fans, but it just seems like a negative, violent, kind of centered type of thing,
Exactly.
So I mean,
not to put
Yeah.
race in it too much, but that's why I don't really support Black Lives Matter. 'Cause
Yeah.
we kill our own people. So how could you can't have it both ways. You can't get mad when the police shoot
Right.
us, but then you shoot like people in the streets.
Right.
It doesn't correlate. Don't go hand in hand.
Yeah. Well, and isn't the Black Lives Matter isn't it corrupt? Is that what it
Yeah.
was, or
It's
I thought there was some sort of corruption with that.
it's a whole lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Like I think it started like in 2012 during that time, 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
But so much stuff has changed since then. So
When it got big during the pandemic and all the protests, and it was a distraction from COVID because everybody was stuck at home. So, but it's as a white male, I don't really feel like anybody really wants to hear what I have to say for the most part. I don't honestly, like, for the most part, I don't feel comfortable talking about it because in this society where everybody's taking everything personal, all it takes is saying the wrong thing, and you get like canceled or whatever. But as an educator, the last thing I need out there is something taken out of context, or maybe I have an opinion that's not popular, and then it gets blown up. So it's such a slippery slope. But
exactly.
Race relations in our country are as bad as they've been in a long time. We've got so many different things going on that it just seems like there's so much negativity.
Exactly.
There's just a lot of negativity, and it's hard to deal with. I get negativity in my neighborhood when I go to the park to throw the ball for my dog. People get mad because she's off a leash and she's not even 50 feet from them. Everybody's taken a stance to everything now, and I don't know. People are just willing to go further than they ever did.
Exactly.
You get cut off in traffic and someone might pull a gun on you. That's crazy. I don't understand that. I really don't understand it. I can't get there. I can't force myself to get there.
Right. Okay. Who are your top 5 greatest rappers ever?
I'm not sure that means much coming from me, but I did listen to Tupac, Biggie. I know
two good ones in my top 5.
P. Diddy was whatever, but he was pretty good at first, and then I don't know if he was a sellout or not. Coolio was always fun. I know he just died.
Touch on his death a little bit, like Gangster's Paradise, kind of his impact he had on him.
Yeah, that was the big one. Do we know what he died from? Was it?
I think it was some type of condition he had.
Okay.
Like some type of heart, something.
Okay. Yeah. It's sad to see that, and I feel like I read or saw something where he was struggling. It's tough for anybody that gets famous and comes into a little bit of money at a young age, and they haven't really necessarily been taught how to manage that, and so then they end up having these struggles. And then we hadn't been in the media for years, and all of a sudden he's gone, and no one really knows why. But
wow.
I hate to say I'm not really impacted by famous people dying. I think the celebrity worship that we have in this country is, quite frankly, disgusting.
It's tough.
All these people that are not really good people.
Because it's almost like they don't give them their flowers until after they die.
Right.
No one knows now.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, there's so many. Yeah, the celebrity, this idea that we just worship other people just because they're on TV and stuff. I can't stand it. And that's not what happened with Coolio, but yeah, it's a weird deal. I don't know. I can't figure it out.
Yes,
I'm becoming that old man. I knew I eventually would. I knew it was going to happen.
Touch on Eminem. He's my favorite rapper, and I think he's the GOAT. What do you think about
I was going to mention him as well. Yeah, obviously I listened to him growing up. I have a hard time listening to any kind of rap these days. Every once in a while something will come on that catches my ear, although I can't name anything off the top of my head.
There's a substance. They got no substance. They talk about the same subject matter. That's
yeah. So, but he was, it was kind of a breakthrough thing for him. A white rapper to kind of become that famous.
Exactly.
So I for sure listen to him, but it's neat for him, for example. A lot of the stuff he rapped about when he was younger was his tough upbringing and his crazy wife or ex-wife or whatever. And it's cool to see him kind of transition, and he's still rapping, doing his thing, but it's kind of cool to see him transition into just being a regular dude, you know, doing his thing. He's raising his kids.
Off of drugs now.
Yeah, not doing that stuff. And so that's a success story just because he was able to avoid the pitfalls that come with early fame and notoriety, because no one's really bred for that. That's something that you either have the character and the value system to withstand, or you're just going to give in to whatever.
Okay.
And that's where I go back to the parenting epidemic. It's not like I'm not even talking about split up families or any of that. It's the value system and the coping skills that kids are not getting now. You know, the parents want to swoop in at any sense of adversity instead of letting their kid kind of fight through it. You know, no one at my high school, no one on the team, no one thought it was fair that I got cut. You know, as a kid, we didn't really understand. And my parents easily could have made a scene and probably caused a ruckus and got me back on the team. But then my motivation to do things the way I did them, it would have never been there.
Exactly.
And I got that from going through that adversity and having to look in the mirror and really come around to the idea that honestly he did the right thing, and I didn't get what I wanted because I did not put the work in. You know, and kids they're not getting that these days.
Right.
The kids that are getting it are for the most part in sports, but it's not always the message.
That's deep, man. Let's get into the last one. What's your add-on to the world, or what's your add-on to the youth?
I mean, I think my biggest add-on, at least where we're at right now in society, is be a human being. You know, just be a human being. Everybody's got something going on at home. Everybody's got something in their past. Most of the behaviors that people exhibit are coming from somewhere. And I think the more understanding that we have of that, just, you don't have to know what it is. Just know that, okay, this guy did this in public. He did this in his car. I didn't like it, but, you know, maybe he's having a bad day. Maybe he's going through some struggles and this is how he's lashing out. I don't think meeting that with violence is really helpful. So just be a human being. You know, that's it. And we don't have a lot of humanism right now.
Not at all, man.
You leave the house and you might have a negative interaction at any moment.
Exactly.
And it's not fun.
It's tough.
Yeah.
For sure, man. Appreciate you coming on.
Oh, of course, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. Actually, anything you want to shout out? Anything, any businesses, anything you got going on before we wrap it up?
Not really. Just support your youth sports programs. Go watch games. Go support Schofield. All right, they might need it this year. I don't know. I don't know how it's looking.
Yeah, with you stepping down.
Yeah. So, I mean, no business. I'm not involved in it. But listen to his podcast, obviously.
Yes, sir, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next episode.
Cool.